When I started working on in the March of 2014, it was always meant to be like a semi-autobiographical version of my life. Um, I picked it up recently in April 2016, changed the title to Upstate Story, and this was all after the fact that the film itself had become more truth than fiction. I look at it this way now. Considering that this has become my life, and if I submit this, on the festival circuit and stuff, and it doesn't get accepted and it fails, what does that say about me and my life? Well, let's just pause all that right there. I can't take any more of this. This is me again, Shaun Rose from 2020, speaking at the moment about my past self. Kind of like a moment of self-reflection, but 4 years removed. It's crazy to see the difference time has made. As cliched as that old saying is, it's true. For those that know me on the day-to-day, the journey completing Upstate Story wasn't easy on both personal and creative levels. The film isn't just a document about that, but also things I feel nobody knows. In my eyes, the root of it all goes back to 2012 or 2013, way before Upstate Story was a mere thought. It's a film by another name, one I tried to make in a different time period with a different mindset, and one I never completed. Getting old.
Yes, you have wrinkles.
No, that's my mole. You don't need to...
Covering everything.
No, that's part of my signature.
You have a Marilyn Monroe mole?
What?
You have a Marilyn Monroe mole?
My forehead, this is my De Niro. Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Close your lips. I like being able to tell you that.
Fuck you.
Tell me about the creative origins for Dog Day.
The creative origins for the project Dog Day, which I had started in 2012 or 2013, stemmed largely from what I had perceived to be as a shift in society and like the advancements of handheld technology. Every time I turned around, people were using like these big, at the time it was big bulky cell phones, like these like fucking chunky fucking hot dogs. And get like the earlier like Game Boys and stuff like that, or the DS, and even the earliest tablets. Everywhere you went, you saw these. From there, I conceived the idea of a youth. I was going to put them in what was supposed to be what I felt the most extreme situation possible. With an over-reliance on technology, power outage, like even air conditioning, stuff like that. And I started writing up the earliest drafts of that film based upon that. Batteries end up going dead on your devices, and just somebody put into this situation where they have to make it through this very bad day without something that they rely so heavily upon. They hurt themselves. The most extreme situation imaginable, like limited mobility due to injuries to both legs. Can't move. So it was double ankle sprains. Being left to their own devices on the hottest day of the year, being hopped up on painkillers and dealing with the heat, hallucinations would, ultimately take control. The story, I made it about 2/3 of the way through the story before I decided, I'm way out of my element here. I was still like a new student at the time. I had no serious know-how regarding a lot of the technical areas of filmmaking, and I gotten way over my head. So I decided, I had to make some changes. So here's all the documents regarding Summer Days. Storyboards, various drafts of the script. Within this pocket right here, we have the second, third, fourth draft. A lot of writing. Writing is rewriting, they say. But the son of a bitch in question is this one right here. Because this was the original draft. It's all in green type because the printer I was using didn't have black ink at the time, so I had to settle for color, and I love green. Notable omissions from this variation of the script are too heavy fantasy sequences from the character's perspective. One focuses on them playing with a bouncy ball within the home to try and pass the time, and it goes into this elaborate fantasy sequence. Very weird. But also there's a character interaction within this that bleeds into a fantasy scenario where the central character is having like a baseball bat or like a home run derby scenario with said character. Like a internal frustration thing bleeding out into this fantasy scenario. But yeah, that's all it. So here's the spot right here where I was going to film the bouncy ball sequence that I had originally written for the script for Summer Days. The ball was going to go ahead and travel down that hill right there and down this other hill back that way, and was eventually going to hit like a skateboarder's kicker ramp and then launch into oblivion. Places like France, I think I thought of Egypt, Rome. It's also a very personal spot for me because when my brother and we were growing up, we used to skateboard and bike down these hills all the time. Weren't always well behaved, but it was something we did. Races. Fell a lot too. Going down these hills is fast, fucking painful.
Gonna be famous?
Hope so. Alright, we're at the west side rec field now. This is actually the location where I was going to film the baseball bat sequence, which was part of the original script for Summer Days. Again, it was an impossible thing for us to film. It was supposed to be a home run derby between two people, which went awry, and ended up becoming a baseball bat duel sequence, almost like a Star Wars with the lightsabers or the medieval knights with their swords. Just impossible for somebody with my knowledge back then to film. It was also another very personal place for me. Grew up around here, spent a lot of times with friends. You know, it's a good place, good place. Initially, I was supposed to be the central character, but at that time, I wanted to, for the first time, really focus on being more behind the camera. As you know, I went into the decision to make the film, I changed the character from being a male to a female because I had just gotten into a new relationship with a girl. It was Kendra, and she volunteered, you know, she wanted to act within one of my projects, and I said, okay, let's just go ahead and film it. Let's go for it. So here I am about to present to you a large portion of what was storyboarded and filmed for the project Summer Days way back in 2012-2013. The presentation has been sped up as a means to not kill the flow of this documentary, but to also keep you informed. The opening of the film would have taken place at the basketball courts at the local rec. Characters playing a handheld gaming device gets pissed, kind of rage quits as gamers call it. Sees a stray basketball, which was a common thing at those courts. You know, people would leave their basketballs around all the time. Decides to fuck around with it. This next shot was poorly drawn because it seemed like he sunk it, but he didn't. The subsequent series of shots would include similar elements, moving all around the half court there, taking various shots, miss after miss, until this Jordan moment right here. And that's supposed to be a miss too. Lands awkwardly, cracks both ankles. Scream of pain. The scream of pain triggers the jolt right there. And we see the aftermath of the injury. Those ankle wraps were actually pretty expensive from CVS. But right there in front of the camera, that's me. I was much skinnier and had way more hair. I wanted to spend more time behind the camera with this project, but I had to fill the role of the caregiver. So Kendra was operating the camera in these moments as I prepared the ice bucket. The waters, sandwiches for the sister figure who was hurt. In all honesty, I do not like this shot right here. Too artificial. I wanted to go back and refilm it. The whole sequence is a fucking nightmare. Constantly putting the ice in the bucket, putting sandwiches in the water bottles and carrying it up those stairs. Take after take after take. Now my character leaves for work. Right around here is when the alarm would cue. I think it was a reminder for her to take her pain medication, but the brother has left her a note reminding her about the day. Sandwiches being left, everything left in the cooler. Emergency contact information even included the house phone. In all honesty, a lot of these scenes that we filmed here were shot at night during the dead of winter, all the while trying to project this very hot summer day element. Now, I didn't have professional lights. The light you see in the window there is something my father jerry-rigged. Gotta love how the brother was so kind to leave the plastic urinal there for the character. That was expensive too, surprisingly. It's just a piss jug. Going back to the lighting for these scenes, just outside of view, my father let me borrow one of his nighttime work lights, which we used to shine up towards the ceiling and cause like a reflective type of effect. Disgusted with the idea of pissing in the urinal, she takes her chance at withering her way down towards the stairs to the lower level bathroom. She ultimately becomes fearful of the idea of descending down these stairs. It's quite intimidating. But these series of shots right here, the low-level handheld camera work, these were the most nightmarish shots of the shoot. Sliding to the stairs, then ultimately falling back to the side of the bed and using the urinal here at least 10 to 15 times a piece before I think that we gained enough footage there where it was usable. We were going to incorporate simple audio effects at this point to simulate the urinating within the jug. And I think that we actually used grape juice within that jug to give it a darker color. And that shot right there really exemplifies, what was going on before and behind the camera. It was all just so exhaustive. Nothing was easy. I fully jacked up the tripod legs for the sequence and even extended the head as high as it could go. Just wanted to really try and incorporate all the elements within what she has to deal with. Sandwich grab. She has both remotes, one for turning on the TV and one for also, turning on the cable box. Various daytime programming shows would play out before her unblinking days. Then she would settle on a cooking channel, making pizza, which would cue this fantasy sequence where, something simple, just eating a pizza. But it's very euphoric compared to the sandwiches left in the icebox. The sequence would have been filmed in color to just contrast the overall bleak nature of the dominant narrative factor. Within the fantasy sequence, the pizza is quickly devoured. And then we get this cue right here where it goes back to reality. Back in bed, everything within the room shuts down. Gets up to check the devices, TV, the fan, and nothing gives. It's part of the power outage. So she resorts back to the bed, eating the sandwich. We move forward in time. The heat kicks in without the power. Overheated and using the washcloth to cool down. And regarding storyboards and filmed elements, that's as far as we ever got with Summer Days. Sad to say. Summer Days ended up falling through because Kendra, she had scoliosis, and with me directing the film and having her doing the repeated takes, like the physicality of the role, it really took a toll on her. It's part of the filmmaking process, trying to get like the best footage you possibly can. And I think as a result of that, it kind of put a damper in our relationship at the time period. So I think it was just within the best interests for both of us, especially, her physically, to just sever the ties with the project and just not go forward anymore. Around the time period that, Summer Days collapsed, it was news to me that I had a baby boy, Keenan, on top of my daughter from a previous relationship. So with, canceling out this project, I really started to focus on like the family dynamic between Keenan, Adriana, and Kendra. Also, what I was going through with schooling. Those became my primary objects of attention. I had made a few short films for school. One was called My Father, which was a documentary based upon my father and his upbringing. Through that project, I wanted to showcase that even though he was brought up in such a horribly abusive environment, that he was able to overcome and not become a product of said environment. I also did a short film called Without Her, which was a separation story. My father also acted in that one as well, dealing with this elderly man, dealing with the separation from his wife, and his struggles through his everyday normal routine flashbacks of her. I also made the short film Heavy, My Father Again, focused on a aged hitman dealing with a serious lifelong regret from a hit he pulled. And it kind of ends sadly. Life progression ended up landing me in a move to county route. Quite a shift for me. I grew up right in town in Saratoga Springs, where I was close to a lot of things. I did a lot of skateboarding, walking around, from point A to point B. It was like a very towny type of setting. And going out to county route was such a big change for me. There's farms everywhere. It itself was on a farm. I lived in an apartment with another couple on a horse farm. And also around that time period, I was dealing with some of the ups and downs of working at this, job, which could be very frustrating at times. A situation too where I had like partial custody of both of my kids, and I was without them a lot of times, and just absolutely miserable, which played a part in wanting to really try to create like a very personal film based upon what I was experiencing at the time. Production process for what was called I at the time started with me and my buddy Charles Ternowski, who was the producer on the film. We were hanging out one day, and I said, I got this idea in mind. You want to go out and start filming some shit? Like, okay. So that's what we did. We filmed some of the exterior shots at my parents' house, which was the opening scene within the film, where you see Ellis stepping out of the home and getting into his car. Charles's car was actually used within the film, his old Volkswagen. It was pretty interesting because I nearly sabotaged his vehicle. I didn't even have my license at the time, let alone knowing how to drive a standard. So he's in the passenger side of the vehicle operating this camera, and me trying to drive it. I got to dig through some of the outtakes because they're pretty fucking hilarious, and flipping out on me behind the camera.
Brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake. Oh, you gotta make sure it's in first gear too.
Dude, I'm so sorry, man.
I think my motor's gonna fall out of this fucking car.
Brake.
No.
And go to 1.
Yep.
Sorry.
Brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch, brake, clutch.
I got it. After we had filmed some of those shots within the car, he ended up becoming the stunt driver of his own car for me because I couldn't drive the car myself.
Start recording.
I am recording right now. Go! Kendra during the day was quite a helper too. She operated, the camera at times. A lot of times she was also holding my son to try and keep him docile, noise reduction and everything. He was quite a pisser. She played multiple parts as well. Like acting wise, she played the role of Kaylee. I added this kind of dramatic element within the film where the central character Ellis is dealing with a breakup. And I took inspiration from a buddy of mine who dealt with something where he got involved with a younger girl, and as their relationship progressed and she started to get older, she started to really change on him, an absolute shadow of what she once was. A lot of times, because of the heavy activity within the home during the day, I couldn't film crap. Living with another couple and everybody's got their own lives, and living within a location that you're also filming in, you kind of have to pray that a lot of the people you live with go to bed early so you don't have to stay up till the fucking butt crack of dawn. But unfortunately that didn't happen too often. When everything was quiet, after everybody got settled in the evening, I would set up the camera, hit record, work my way around in front of the camera, act up the scene, hit my cues, hit my marks, come back to the camera, make sure everything looked okay. If I wasn't pleased, I'd have to do it all over again. And a lot of nights, this went on till dawn. It was a very tough process. Eventually we got the news that we had to leave. From there, because I was in the midst of production and I still had things to shoot, I went off on a serious tear, just trying to film everything I could before the set move-out date. Moved out, had to settle back at my my parents for a while, and continued editing the project until one day fucking laptop shits the bed. After a little while, saved up some money to go ahead and send it out to a buddy of mine. I eventually did get the laptop back, but the whole experience just kind of killed any kind of creative groove that I was in. So even after getting my laptop, having all my files preserved, for a while I just worked on it sparingly. Over time, Kendra and I, we ended up getting a place of our own with the kids. Eventually, we got engaged. We were talking about taking in a niece of hers who was in a very bad spot, and also talking about having a child of our own. All that stuff became center stage, and working on I became a sort of background idea, which I worked on sparingly. late 2015, going into early 2016, a lot of stuff started to change. A lot of talk about money, not having money, and living on a budget. Living on a budget was the big thing. Kept hearing complaints about not making enough, settling, quote unquote settling, was a big thing. So I ended up getting a second job, and complaints about that, and before you know it, my life had the rug pulled out right from under me. So in a sense, what I had largely wrote about for Alice within the script for I ended up coming true for me. And a shocking twist of sorts, I guess you could say. On top of a lot of the stuff I was going through, the serious depression, May 10th, 2016, I went into work and, went about my business like any other day, working at the hotel. And then leading up to lunch, I started, feeling funny. And people were asking me, what's wrong with you? And just felt very funny on my left side of my body. Didn't really have much of an appetite, but I went out to my car to take my lunch break, and numbness overtook the left side of my body. Saratoga ambulance ended up coming and transporting me out to Albany Med. I had a mini stroke right there in the parking lot of my job. I was up at Albany Med for 2 or 3 nights, and I was able to recover full feeling in the left side of my body within 10 hours or so. But even after that, all the tests that they were running on me, and just so much of the fucking shit I was dealing with at the time, I felt completely and utterly alone in this world. Coming home from the hospital, all this stuff happening to me at once, I found out that a lot of the friends that I thought I had ended up hiding stuff from me, betraying me. I had people on Facebook harassing me with what seemed to be fake profiles. I was out of work. I lost so much weight. I've dealt with depression since I was a teenager, but I had never been in a hole like this before. One of the things that really stands out about that time period, even outside of myself, is my son, Keenan. He ended up growing very attached to the figure that was in his life for so long, and she just turned her back on him. Days, weeks, months go by, and I decided I need to try and kick this. So I started writing again, going back to I ended up changing the title to Upstate Story. I filmed a few things for the project, finalized that aspect, and I started writing the monologue. Now initially, because I was in such dire straits, I guess you could say, the original monologue was so dark, so heavy. It wasn't... There was no sense of comedy to any of it. It was very dark, very bleak. So now I'm about to read off some of the earlier written monologue sequences that I had done. Here we go. We're all entitled to our own pursuit of happiness. What does it say if you lie, abandon, and hurt others on your path? Especially those that cherish you for so long before you made your attempt. Even the little ones that looked up to you as some kind of hero. That's one. Here's another. The best kind of change is for the better. It's always been a shame when people take the opposite path, and a lot of times they become a mere shadow of what they once were. Was it all for the sake of conforming? It's sad when people don't even recognize someone that they once cared so much for. Quite a charmer. Here's one more that I had written. Class is a complicated thing to me. Some have it and some don't. Others had it at some point but then lose it. A lot of people showboat around with their high-paying jobs, nice cars, degrees, and talk about their fancy vacations like they have it, but so many don't. Possessions mean nothing. That's all temporary. When you're dead, none of that will matter anymore. So, yeah, that's what I had wrote. I mean, these are just a few samples of what I wrote way back when I was in the depths of my so-called depression, trying to come out of it, writing the monologue for Upstate Story. Or I, as you would call it. That's it. I didn't end up using that in the finished product, but I think that just getting a lot of these feelings out, it really helped me heal. Eventually, after, the recovery period, I went back to work. Yeah, about to start my first shift here since May 10th, the day of the stroke, Yeah, it feels good to be getting back in the swing of things, it's been too long. Feeling pretty good about things. It was an impressive feeling. It might sound silly, but it's part of the normalcy. It felt pretty goddamn good. Getting back into the norm, the swing of things, and that old cliched saying, time heals all wounds. I started to really take a good look around me, a lot of things outside of what I was going through, and I was able to find a lot of humor in a lot of the stuff that was going on around me. And from there, I think that the overall tonal shift for Upstate Story and the monologue changed as a result of that. Going more lighthearted with the monologue wasn't without its fair share of issues, that's for sure. I wanted to be realist, pessimist, and darkly comedic. That makes any sense? And trying to find a right balance that works, combining all those elements, isn't easy. There were a lot of late night writing sessions where I collaborated with Andrea, my girlfriend, and my father as well, just me writing down ideas at the kitchen table, late at night before I would proceed to even attempt to record them. I would ask him, like, am I getting a little too dark here? Am I being too much of an asshole? Too much of a prick? And I wanted their honesty. Sometimes I did go overboard. I'm like, yeah, Shaun, tone that down a little bit. And from there would come the recording sessions, which was a very unique thing in and of itself, because living in a trailer, the walls are paper thin. It's really tough to find a good spot to do any kind of recording whatsoever. If somebody farts in a room 20 feet opposite you, it's going to get picked up. I had this very small space within the corner of a bedroom where I was surrounded by, furniture to more or less absorb some of the sound as opposed to reflect it. I would hunch down there and crisscross applesauce style, and I would just be tucked down with my phone recorder. Some of the outtakes from that are pretty funny. Oh, fucking shit. No matter how much I brush here, I can still taste it. Fucking motherfucker. Fuck you! The taste of the rum is so strong. Such a strong flavored reminder. Fucking shit! It's fucked up that the good times in life seem to move so fast and the dread slogs on forever. Fuck you, motherfucker. Motherfucker, fuck you, fucking cocksucker. I have a roommate who doesn't get my way much. He's pussy whipped and is always with his girl, which is a good thing. Fuck! Fuck! As production on the film progressed, I needed a musical element, and a buddy of mine, Jacob W. Veach, a musician, also a hell of a photographer too, he said, I've recorded some tracks. I'm sitting around on my computer, and I want to go ahead and give them a listen. I said, okay. I listened to them, and some of the more downbeat tracks that he lent to me, I feel really connected with the overall essence of this project. I took some of those tracks and edited them within the project, and from there we were able to create some serious magic. I owe a lot to what Upstate Story was and became because of his music. After 4 years of working on Upstate Story, finally hitting the end was such a euphoric experience. It was all these years of hard work, all this physical, mental health issues. To finally see it completed was like a monkey was just pulled off my back. As cliched as that may sound, it was words can't describe it. Prior to ultimate release on YouTube, I did a showing party with everybody who was involved in the project. I didn't want them to bullshit any of this. Their opinions on the project. I wanted complete honesty every step of the way down, all throughout the 60 minutes or so of the project. Got a few pointers there. It was overall received quite well, and from your peers on the project saying those things, it shoots you through the roof. Within a few days after that screening, I put it on YouTube for the public, and putting it out there was always a big fear of mine. Very big fear. All along I was always worried about what people would think of it. And to hear such words of praise was phenomenal. And currently on YouTube we're sitting at over 2,000 views, which I never expected. Eventually we got our first festival acceptance, and going out to Ellington, the Cinema Fest show, that was quite an experience. Is that weird?
Your eyes, yes.
On our way to the fest now. I'm so nervous.
Turn left onto Botman Road.
Got my Sunday best on. Andrea's looking pretty snazzy too.
In 2.4 miles, turn left onto South 362.
Just a few more minutes. Few more minutes.
It's on your right, 770 West Main Street.
Go.
This is swimming for people who don't know how to swim. Turn quickly.
Woohoo! Now run back.
Run back.
Yeah.
It's getting my eyes. It's getting harder. I'm getting there. Here we go.
Woo! First place.
So now we're heading into day 2. Last night my film showed and it got a very warm reception. This fellow filmmaker in attendance referred to me as a brilliant writer, and it was a hell of a compliment for me. It made me feel really good. A lot of people praise the realism, and I'm just ecstatic right now, on cloud 9. Day 2 here, it's actually day 3 of the fest, but my second day here. It's the final day, you know, looking forward to seeing more films and, you know, doing more talking, but, you know, I've enjoyed this experience immensely, and, you know, the kind words that mean a lot.
The Silver Award, Shaun.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank
you
you.
are. This was a very well done, very interesting film that was presented here tonight at the Cinema Fest. And tell us a little bit about the background of making this film.
4 years in the making. Started it in 2014. I went through a lot of trial and errors, personal struggles, and I had a very dedicated cast and crew. My buddy Jake, who made the music, I appreciate his work so much. My children, my mother, my brothers, my sister, you know, largely inspired by them. Melanie Millington, Andrea, who's here with me, my girlfriend, who also helped me with the writing, my father. Did I say my kids? I'm at a loss for words right now. My kids, yes. My kids, they're my life. And without them, I don't think that any of this would be possible.
Well, it was a very well done film, and I'm quite sure that you'll have a lot of things coming out in the future that we will be looking forward to seeing in the future.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Shaun.
very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So here I am now, last night in the hotel. Cinema Fest ended a few hours ago. I was reviewing the footage of my acceptance speech for the award that Upstate Story won, and I forgot to thank one of the most important people on the project. I'm trying to correct that now. Charles Chernowski, my co-producer, he was also one of the predominant camera operators on the film. Helped out with a lot of the trickier shots on the, some of the scenes. Charles, I'd like to thank you. You were there for me from day one. I'm sorry I missed you, man. In the moment, I wasn't expecting to win anything, and I just went. But here's the first award for Upstate Story. I'm peeking out above it. Won second place in the feature film category. And here's another thing that I didn't show too many people. But before I left, I had my kids do something for me because they couldn't come physically. So I said, I want to bring you, spiritually. So here we got a drawing that they both did for me. My daughter right here, it's a very polished drawing, and my son here, he went a little abstract. But I love the way he did the glasses. She's very pretty, It's just their characters. I mean, perfect representations of their characters. So leaving early tomorrow. The entire experience was, not just, winning the award and, hearing praise for this film I had labored over for so long, but, just hearing the stories from these fellow filmmakers within the indie filmmaking tier, it was quite informative, and, talking with them, having conversations and hearing their stories. This is an experience I'll take with me forever. After Ellington and the award win there for the Silver Award for Best Feature, we ended up getting a write-up in the Saratogian, right on the front page, which was welcoming because, it's right in my own backyard. I grew up in Saratoga. Got accepted to the Lake George Film Festival, which I was lucky enough to attend with Andrea and my father.
Here we are at Lake George. You recording?
Yes.
The screen.
When I talk about cosplay, what that means is something similar to costume.
Just waiting for the whole thing to start now. Huh? Yeah, sun is up.
The beautiful mountains in Lake George.
Yes.
There's Bruce.
And there's a trailer
Beautiful trailer behind us.
over there. It's nice over there.
Haven't got there yet. And we're back to the screen and Shaun.
Got a nifty shirt. Like it. Hopefully it fits me.
Yeah.
Oh, you going for the banner? Oh.
Red carpet, baby.
Yeah.
It's red and it's a carpet.
We had another acceptance in New York City at the International New York Film Festival. Went there with Andrea, we had a pretty good trip out there. Ate some good pizza, had some shitty pizza, overrated pizza. Ended up winning the Best Feature Film Award there. After that, went to Ohio with Andrea and the kids. Upstate Story ended up winning 3rd place, Best Feature Drama. Overall, the praise the movie received was beyond anything I could have expected. After all the bullshit that has happened over the preceding years leading up to Upstate Story being finished, and even with its acceptance, I think that it helped to ground me, humble me, make me out to be a better person in the long run for the sake of my kids. I started out in my 20s. Now I'm nearly 35. I've grown up a lot. I'm stronger as a result of all that turmoil, the hostility, the hardship, the difficulties. Creatively, I developed a little bit more confidence in myself. I mean, you can't make films or be an effective artist if you're constantly fearing rejection. And I don't really have those doubts anymore. The superstition surrounding the beard goes back to my first 2 feature film projects, Fine Line and Blocked and Sidetracked. Whenever I would finish filming, I would grow an abnormal amount of facial hair as a means to... It was as a means to propel myself to keep going forward, to finalizing the project, see it through. And I don't like facial hair. It really irritates me. So I think that with Upstate Story, I kept the beard. And, the documentary coincided with the making of Upstate Story, so I kept the beard all throughout. I've had this beard for years. I've endured so much fucking ridicule. So now that I feel that I'm done with this project that coincided with Upstate Story, I think it's time to part ways. So,
Wait a minute.
This superstition ends here. And I'm doing it with the kids. So, have at it.
Keenan, go!
Oh.
Uh-oh. I'm scared. I can't see. Uh-oh. Ew! I don't wanna... Keenan, you're not cutting it.
Don't cut it.
Okay, that is not working.
On the lens itself. Ah! That hurt!
What happened?
I
Keenan.
pulled up Daddy's little hair with the scissors.
Oh!
Yeah, I can't see anything.
Well, you're gonna be with me and I'll be annoying.
Hey, high five. Thank you. Hey. Okay. You're being Keenan. Okay. Go out there.
Hi.
Bringing in the heavy duty ones now.
Goodbye, Amish man.
Holy shit, I have a neck now. And a chin. That's been lifted. Wow. I feel great. Feel great. I think it's time for a haircut, though. What the fuck is this?
Probably a squirrel.
It's like, I've never seen this yet. With a fucking project. We were filming a fucking documentary interior interview. We gotta worry about squirrels on the fucking roof. Ask me again.
Nuts.
Yeah.